The opening moments of the rounds involved Carlton. It really did reverberate all the way through the rest of the weekend of footy. What would the ramifications of this dire performance for the Blues be?
It's hard to describe what we're seeing, Kingy.
Oh, I'm shocked, to be honest. It's like the football world has just caved in on top of them and they don't know what to do.
The question now is whether Michael Voss is starting to lose the group.
And the nightmare on Adelaide Oval continues for Carlton.
We don't want them.
This is ugly.
We don't want them.
You'd have to be able to look at the start of the game and sort of go back and say, well, you know, how prepared were we to prepare the style of football that we wanted to play? How hard do we want to go at that? The reality is the answer is we weren't.
It doesn't really matter what the Magnets are going to do. It's the effort that the players put on. It's just not up to stand at the moment.
They're devoid of confidence. They look to be devoid of hope. They've been devoid of skill in the first half.
Their better players have got to be better. They've got to perform. They've got to lead the way.
Can you turn it around?
I don't think it's more about turning it around, and now it starts to become about what we value. And what you do find out a lot about is your character of your football team, football club, right now. What I feel right now as a leader is I feel really disappointed for our people. So we're enormously disappointed. We're not where we want to be.
Michael Voss moving down towards the bench.
This is something we haven't seen for a while. Michael Voss coaching from the bench, so
either that or going home.
We don't want them. We don't want them.
It was macabre in prospect and it was worse in reality, and they walked to Friday night footy now against their old rival Collingwood with Brisbane thereafter. The how that performance happened is sort of riveting in its own right, and then there's a much bigger picture. So I felt the game against North Melbourne was the collapse of hope and belief in the middle, and I felt like this was PTSD on Thursday. It was the trauma cycle, as they had lived this doom loop before, and I reckon they got trapped in it. They've got more than a third of their season to go. So you sort of have to rationalise, compartmentalise it. And then this team's got its flaws, but it's not that bad.
No, they've rarely played like that. The one thing you can say about Carlton is they've generally given great effort. That has been true. But the first thing, I suppose, how does that performance come? Sometimes you need to remind people they are human. So they're coming into this game with human emotions, with thoughts, with concerns, with self-preservation, with what-ifs. And then sometimes if you've got too many players thinking that way, it can unravel really quickly. And there probably would be a heavy burden on some of the leaders. I think there'd be some others that, as you said, the life was sucked out of them last week, knowing finals was out of the question. So all of a sudden the motivation is changing. What are we playing for? And I think it just all culminated in that week that they hadn't sorted it out. They hadn't been able to work out what's driving us, what's the motivation, what's the purpose, what does it look like, and they got the performance they did. So I think that'll be the conversation this week they would have had internally, is right. OK, let's forget about finals. Let's just get back to what do we want to stand for? What are we going to do for these last 8 weeks of the year? And I'm expecting a response in their effort. And if it's not, and they don't play and they play something similar again, or they don't give the effort they've shown generally, then it's a concern for Michael Voss in the back end of the season, because then it does look like maybe the players are choosing to say, well, we're not playing for the coach. But I don't expect that. I think the group will respond and play with some heart. You'd hope so anyway.
There had to be a level of intervention, I reckon, for Carlton to be able to poise and set themselves for what's to come. And it needed to come from the top, and it did, as the President, Rob Prisely, fronted the cameras today.
There's a lot of noise around your senior coach. Will Michael be the coach in round 1, 2026?
Yeah, Voss is contracted until the end of 26. That doesn't change. I think what we're trying to do here is, as I said then, is really focus on the next 8 weeks, get ourselves into the very best possible position, addressing things that we need to address. And then that gets us into the end of the season where we can, in a really calm and measured way, make decisions if we need to make them then. But, you know, we're focused on the next 8 weeks, and Voss is our coach.
The form continues the way it's doing. You can't see a world where Michael's not coaching to see out his contract in 2026.
I think I've just answered that. So we'll go through the next 8 weeks. Everybody's focused on that, the coaches, the players, and then we will assess our season in its entirety at that point in time, and we will make rational and calm decisions.
So you had to create an environment where there is no imminent risk of sacking. I think that was absolutely critical to get back to work, and to everyone is on edge at Carlton because there's no review, but Graham Wright is the fresh blood. He's going to take over on August 15, which makes all the sense in the world. Is he gets a couple of weeks at the end of the home and away season, and then immediately that it finishes, he will roll out his plan, which presumably he would take to the board, have ratified, and then get to the business. Now, because of the way the industry is geared, it fines in on Michael Voss. It includes Voss, but it's much bigger than Voss as to what they're going to do. Are they going to crack their list open? What do they do with their management of the football department? What do they do with the senior coach and with his coaching staff? Typically what would happen is there would be a review instituted now. But what Carlton is well served is it's been going since December. Graham Wright is the fresh eyes. He's seen it all. He will make his judgments. And I truly believe this is anyone who thinks they know what Wright is going to do, I reckon is making it up. Right. He has had no cause to tell anyone anything. Hasn't laid a plan out for the board. Brian Cook still has his hands on the wheel. He has been able to work his way through it, to come up with what will end up being calm, rational and measured decisions. But there's no need to articulate those to anybody just yet. So we wait to see. But I do think the purpose of today is to get back to work. 8 weeks, nothing. The world is not going to end next week if you lose by 100 points to Collingwood, and it's not going to end the week after. So go and don't waste the last third of the season.
Yeah, I thought I spoke perfectly, because you don't want to say he's going to coach till the end of his contract, because you can't guarantee that, but you can guarantee get through to the end of the season, as they said, make those calm decisions. And I think Michael Voss needs that too, because as we said earlier with the teams that can't play finals, there is an element of still playing for the now, but you need to also start looking at the bigger picture and what it's going to look like next year. So the last thing Carlton would want is Michael Voss coaching for himself and picking guys that he feels safe with and a style. So if he gets that support, and at the end of the season, you can sit down and say, right, so the last 8 weeks, what did it look like? Well, we brought in some fresh blood. We're playing some VFL players. We tinkered with a bit of our style. All those things will come into it. And as you said, they will make the calm, calculated decisions then. So I like it. It puts the players at ease as well, that the Voss is going to be there so they can get to work. And hopefully you get to see a response from the playing group. But there's no doubt there's going to be change. That's what Graham Wright will do. Yes. It's just a matter of how much and where it starts.
Yeah, and change is needed, warranted, but what is proportional and how do you go about it? So, yeah, I just think it takes the air out of it a little bit, knowing that the next 2 weeks are fearsomely difficult. And hopefully, as a result, they can get the rise after the collapse, because it really was the collapse on Thursday. A bit in the trade space today. So Cal Toomey reported late in the afternoon that Miles Bergman is going to accept a 2-year extension to remain at Port Adelaide. I was watching their game on Thursday night, and Mark Rasciuto was talking about it. It's hard to keep him because he's blossomed. They're keeping him. And the second part of this, Will Faulkner, in our building here, is because St Kilda has come away from the pursuit of Bergman to concentrate on the retention of Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And from all reports, as much as every club in Victoria would have been keen to meet with Miles Bergman, I believe it didn't really even get to that. He was just waiting and assessing, and Saints were the keenest, and probably at the start of the season, probably it did lean like it was going to head that way. Now, the fascinating part is, have they withdrawn their interest? Does that mean that they are nervous about keeping Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera and have had to just increase their offer a bit? Or maybe they've already done that and they feel comfortable and confident that Nasiah is going to re-sign, and they've just sort of redone the books maybe and thought, you know what, we've got maybe Tom DeConey coming in, we've kept Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera at a high price. Maybe they've also got something else in the works and said, we don't want to go down the Bergman path because we need a trade for him, and we're happy with where we're at. So that's what Saints fans will be hoping. The other way is that they're nervous that this means St Kilda are really digging deep to try and keep Naz.
What Saints fans would fear is that somehow Wanganeen-Milera lines up with Bergman, but just at the other mob.
Well, and that's what Port Adelaide will be hoping for. Now, it's a great get for Port Adelaide, first of all. I mean, he's ascending at a rate of knots this season to elevate to a top 50 player in the game. The next one's going to be Zach Butters. That's the next big signature, but if they can land Nasiah as well and keep Zach Butters, gee, Josh Carr's got a few toys to play with too.
Yes.